Barely a 4-hour break. He's a fucking soldier. And that's the end of that, is it? Greetings all, greetings. I do have another video I wanted to put on. I didn't expect that one to be as long as it was. This one, I'll turn the volume up a little. I think you can still see, hopefully. But yeah, it put me in mind of this film. Everything did. I can just finish my script while this happens. Cheers. Giddy as a kipper. It does look like one of the two Ronnies. They both do a bit, actually, in a way. This is that guy from the Czech Republic. there's lots of similarities in this, but I'm just trying to think the full analogy for the whole thing. Like, there's a lot connected. The money in the mouth, I'm sure that's got a reference if I work hard enough in my head. But I do think this is very similar. You could even name the people in my head. Yeah. He's like younger, got more energy, you know. It's really, really cool. And that's that. I just wanted to put that on because I was on about it the other day. Stop screen. There we go. I'm here now. I'll put the StreamYard link up in case anyone's fancies coming down for a chat. But I suppose there's loads to talk about. Like, bloody hell. I mean, what I'm going to try and do, I suppose, today would be address some of the lies a little bit. Just in the sense that it's just a case of keeping it clean, keeping my nose clean, because they're just going to keep on. They just keep on keeping on. And because I've got a life and I've got shit on, like, I just have not got the time to sit there making up lies, and I just haven't got the drive to do so either, because as I will explore later, there are various drives that I see in this, and I could be wrong, and it's not just those guys. There's other, when I say those guys, I've never lied. When I said those guys, I just mean them too. Yeah. See, they're trying anything. I mean, I might go into the methodology a bit because that's funny and interesting and so textbook and just so like technical. Do you know what I mean? It's just like they've gone mad. They've gone mad with it. So like it's a fucking cornucopia for me. So in that I can address some of the lies and stuff as well, because a lot of their sort of attack and all that stuff just hinges on me. This is where their problem is, because I mean I'll go into this goes into the methodology a little bit as well. But well, the problem is that all their shit hinges on me reacting in the way they want me to react. I think they're going to probably wise up a bit, and it'll probably become a bit more of a cleverer attack in that sense. That just the other day was just pure venting and vitriol, and the reason for that is because they were massively threatened by something. They were massively feeling the need to put that energy into that for a reason. And it was all about rewriting history. It was all about doing that. There was a bit in that which I can't believe happened, and I fucking should have found it for today. I fucking should have found it to show it. It was unbelievable. I only got to see a tiny little bit of it because it was on a Saturday morning, so I was doing shit and I just had it. I just had Red Bulls on in the corner with the sound down and just the chat on, because that's all I could really be part of, not being able to watch it or really listen to it. And every time I clicked onto it, were they just talking the most utter vitriol, and I was just always wondering like what the purpose was for it. So that's what my main thing with it all was and is. But I am aware that a lot of people, even people who know me as well, hey up Vic. Yeah, Vic gets it. Vic knows. But like a lot of people are still like they think they get it, but actually it's so deep, the level of piles of shit that like even then it's like people think that like for instance that I'm affected by it. Like I've been having some support from some friends and they really thought like, you know, they're like, oh, don't let it get to you. And I'm like, I'm really not, like, really. That's the thing that I like. It's things like that that I just need to let people know because it's just a hindrance. It's just a hindrance and an obfuscation that we don't need because it, like if I needed help, you'd know about it. If I was upset, you'd know about it. You really would. You can ask Evil. Part of his fucking campaign hinges on that. And unfortunately, he's worn all that out because, like, all that upsetting time has been and gone. Hey, up, Wisp. You don't get anything. Well, I know. Well, I know, but at least nothing changes there, does it? Yeah, well, the StreamYard's up, chaps, if you want to come up and have a chat. But I've just been going right through my agenda a little bit. I haven't really got anything written down. Oh, it's bedtime for you. All right, fair enough. Yeah, sorry, I left it a bit late today. I woke up late again and I missed Slotham's again. And I set my alarm and everything. But it mustn't have gone off. But yeah, it would appear I don't really know what's been going on because I literally don't. And it's not because I'm like avoiding anything. It's because, like Vic was saying, and I think it comes as a result of everything getting pulled apart so it doesn't work anymore, because that was all part of it. And I will say there's definitely a extra bit of energy that's going into it now, and an extra bit of organisation, you see, because those two together are just letting off steam, you know, being dickheads, right? But then you've got other people now coming in, and they've got their reasons, and they're pouring their energy into it, and their energy is far more focused. So now we've got these two wound up bobbins that'll just go, and you just need a player to come and wind them up and play them, and we've got them players now. So things have changed, and it's not just the root hitting the water now. You've got other roots hitting their water, and so that's going on. And I will probably go into that later, maybe a bit later on. So that's like some of the stuff I see behind it, some of the focuses I see changing in it. The reason why they actually did that one particular thing the other day, I do think that's because there was a strength shown in a place where they didn't expect strength to be shown, so they just didn't know what to do. They did that to stir the pot. They know that causing that amount of shit just buys them time, and they just know as well that I couldn't give a shit as well. So it's like they genuine. I mean, if I was doing any of the stuff they were saying about and concerned about, then things would be going down a lot differently than actually how they are. And that's my thing. It's like they've reacted and they continue to react. I don't know how things are with Vic now, but at the time, they were just reacting as if I'd got upset, as if I'd been kicking off, as if I'd been making videos attacking them, as if I'd ever gone off at them. I mean, I've even seen things where he's been trying to make out that I was like harassing him. So would a person who was being harassed, would a person who I was harassing, who'd finally got rid of me, why then would he come to the Crunch then the other week, come and sit on the panel with me, talk to me afterwards, and make it up with me big time before just turning on me and doing it again? Like, it's like as if I'm going to get upset by that. Like, is that what he's trying to achieve? All right, Lewis. Nice to see you. I'm glad I got to see a little bit of your stream yesterday. I just couldn't be arsed with as soon as Dean started ragging Angela's head around, I was just like, nah. I know he had to point to prove, and I'm sure she was fine with it, but I was just like, not my bag. Not my bag, that one. But yeah, it was good to see you briefly. hopefully I'll be able to pop by again sometime. Yeah, what was I on about? Yeah, I'm just on about random, just kind of talking about the other day, because it kind of is just like a spot that needed popping, but also what it indicates to me, certain things that have happened before and afterwards, which make me think that there's bigger fish to fry now. And also we've got to touch on what's going on with Rad Rob. Like, fucking hell, like, what is going on with Rad Rob? Because I do think there might be a connection there. And I do think it goes behind the scenes, and I do think it might. I don't know what the timing is, but yeah, I mean, I would say that these two things happened independently and in tandem, and have been sort of used, and it's an opportunity for them to use it. Oh, thank you, Lewis. You too. Yeah, the StreamYard's up if you scroll up, just up there, if you want to come on. But there's no pressure. I'm quite happy to just rabbit on for ages. I've got a bit of stuff. I realised as well, I forgot the fucking karaoke. I was like, oh yes, I'll come here and I'll sit here every week for half an hour. I never did. Forgot. Totally forgot. So I will do that at some point. Maybe I'll do it in the week and see what happens. Yeah, it's just like, I'm just going to carry on as normal. I was a bit busy this week, but also I was a bit like standing back, because I knew that things were changing. I could see that they had got another strength somehow, and I realised that, and now I know what that was, you see, because all this timing with the Rad Rob. See, what happens is, like, Ricardo just, oh man, he just cannot stand to play with other people. He cannot stand other people running in parallel with him. He just can't stand it, and it will be his undoing. Either it'll be his undoing, or this is a good thing if it does happen. He will learn to play with other people. He will have to, because he'll have that drive to prove me wrong so bad. He'll have that drive to prove himself to be the bigger person. Because like, once he's eaten through my carcass how he wants to do it, like how it is like Ricardo had his channel like a fucking desert, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? It was like alt accounts, gatekeeping, everything. Most alt accounts coming from one person, and then he'd fuck that person off. So it was just a desolate wasteland, constant looping round and round in this like isolated thing. Just him playing his games, and no one ever went round. And it's like he needed that body. He needed a dead body to grow from. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to like eat me so much that they can just get a foothold, move forward, and be these like beatific, all of a sudden rewriting history. And I was the one attacking them. Before you know it, I fucked off. That's what they think anyway. And that's why they were tantruming this week, because I didn't. But like, next thing you know, it's all past ancient history. They're all got this boost to their sort of channel. They've got all these extra people coming over. Next thing you know, Darius is back in with everybody. Mark my fucking words. Mark my fucking words. This is what's going on here. Possibly. But then Rad Rob, you see, Rad Rob throws my theory into question, because is it beyond the realms of possibility then, if Rad Rob is 8-Bit Eric, that they would be working together? All right, yeah. All right, night, Vic. Night. Yeah, that they'd be working together, because like, if Ricardo's doing this to, in a way, I think it started by him wanting to get Darius back in. He wanted to get the Herbies back for Darius, but Darius wasn't bothered. This is just all my supposition. This is not exact. This is absolutely in no way what happened. I don't watch this shit anymore at all, and I don't really pay that much attention or really give it that much or really care. But at the same time, Like, that was my thought on it, was like, what? Because it's like, what is the purpose? What is the drive? For Ricardo, I saw in him changing him when I refused to bend the knee for him regarding Darius. And I brought Slotham. I said he had to apologise to Slotham. He didn't like that. He's got this problem with Slotham. Now, I don't know if he's angling to get in with Slotham in a weird way, because this is Ricardo we're talking about, and he's weird with this shit, or if he's trying to just divert and distract. I'm not sure. But that's what this was about. This was what this was about. And now it's changed. Now it's changed because he's got his food source. And now he's going to make his channel out of everyone at this whole area. And he's going to stop anyone else from doing anything. And he's going to make all these lies up and try and bury people whenever they try. And just do anything independent from him, because he can't stand not being the center of attention. And this is what I'll bring myself onto a secondary theory, which is it all goes back to the pulling the strings as well. So what we've got here now is, and this is where the vested interest comes in, and this is where the extra support comes in that I've seen, because you've got, it's gone out of my head now. Come out of my fucking head. Oh my god, I'll blame the concussion for it. But no, that was it. So I've had a beer. I've just started a beer, so that'll be why. But when we were in the Herbies, I've said this before. I've talked about this before, and I've talked about it with Vic. It was like you just couldn't get anything going. You just couldn't. It was like you could get it up to a point and you were massively supported, and it'd be up to this set point, and there's no problem with it at all. I'm not moaning. It's just how it was. This is just how it was. Oh, Walter Count's here. Hello, you're right.
Hey, CP, how you doing?
I'm all right. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes.
So I just jump in. I haven't listened to whatever you were talking about. So, what are you talking about right now?
I was talking about my theories about how it's gone from. I was just saying about how when I was in the Herbies, and that it's not a problem. It's just the dynamic that I saw was how you couldn't get that much done. You could get it up to a point, you got really supported up to a point, and then it'd get to a certain point and it'd disappear or it'd get fed to someone else. And what I came to the conclusion of was that it was because there were certain people in there who just wanted to be the center of attention, it came down to, I think. And in a weird way, and they couldn't tell the difference between negative and positive attention, and they just wanted it, and it was subconscious, and they would just go and do something and it'd be crazy. And it'd just bring that attention back to them, and it'd kill whatever was being made. And I think that is now leaking out into the wider community. So that was the point I was making.
All right. So when do you feel like that started?
I think that was kind of always the case. Probably always the case. Probably when I made the Discord, and it went from sort of me and Evil in the love bombing stage, when it was just me and Evil doing crazy shit against those guys, to the wider group, and then there was more people to be involved and be manipulated by whoever wanted to manipulate them, and the energy was there and the creativity was there to be used. So when the group formed.
All right. Let me ask you about this, because I really don't know this information. How did Ricardo get into with the Herbies?
It was me. It was me. And I went in like 3 or 4 times as well, chasing him. I've thought about it many times. My God. And it was about a year ago. I brought him in. And then Ron went over. And then me and Ron were going over. Yeah.
But he used to hang out with Dean TV, right? And then they had a falling
Yeah.
out.
They had a
That's
falling
what I
out.
believe.
Yeah, they had a falling out, and then it was just at the same time as I was doing my Fart TV thing. And I kind of, Ricardo had shown me more like acknowledgement than any of the other ones had. So I wanted to keep that connection going. So I was talking to him in the comments of his videos, to try and just get some connection with the PSG that was like not just Dean and Albert feeding off me or just attacking me, which is what's happening now. You know what I mean? It's exactly the same shit, which is just crazy. But like he was at the time on his best behavior, and he was fine with me. But I remember him saying that he didn't want to talk to me because it was, and this is after he'd fallen out with those guys. And I was like, "Oh, come on, I'll go on a panel with you. We'll have a chat." Because I was like angling for him to come and join us. Do you know what I mean? Because I wanted strength as well in numbers. I wanted the dirt on those guys. This was an error on my part. But I also thought Ricardo was all right. You know what I mean? I've seen a few of his streams. He'd started talking to Doshin about Carl and his Q-tips and all that stuff. So I was like laughing about that. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to try and fucking get this one. So I went over and like kept going over. Those guys were not for it at all. Absolutely not for it at all for a very long time. Ron was. And then Ricardo like did the dirty on me a couple of times, and those guys, like our lot, still weren't bothered about Ricardo, and I was still going back and apologising, or not even apologising, but just trying to sort it out with him. And that's why when people are like, "Oh, I can't believe it's so divisive. I can't believe you guys have fallen out, and that you're so upset and that you're the one causing all this," and it's like, no, mate, absolutely not. There's a paper trail as long as your fucking arm of me going and trying to sort shit out with Ricardo and him just finding more and more, trying more desperate reasons to find a reason not to be reasonable with me, until he got to the point where he just didn't have to anymore, and he just kept making it up, and he just thought, if I'm making enough shit and I throw it enough, then I'll just keep going, and now I've got evil on my side, we can just do it together, and if we both do it, it doesn't matter. And he's been trying for months to get something unreasonable on me, and he's never managed it.
And it is my understanding that you and Evil had some like minor issues in the past. Was Ricardo involved in that in any way, or that was just between you
It
and
was just
Evil?
a perfect storm, like Vic said, I think last week or whenever it was. It was just that perfect timing. So me and Evil had no, it had nothing to do with Ricardo. That it was to start with, it had, it was just a natural process that we were going through, and then but what it was that it was a hard process. And think I can't speak for Evil or think for him, but for me it was a learning experience, and I think he was there for it. From what I gathered at the time, he seemed to be there for it, the learning experience, and it wasn't anything major. It was just us learning not to be dicks through a situation which was very challenging for both of us, and we both were learning to do it, and we were doing all right. But I think what happened there was Ricardo kept coming in with his opportunity, which would be like, fuck all this off, Evil, you know what I mean? Fuck all that. You can just be a bitch. You can just be a bitch with me. Fuck this bitch off. We'll just eat this carcass. We'll just make a new channel out of it. Fuck it. Do you know what I mean? And like, Evil wasn't down for that shit. And that's what I mean about the pop-up pirate. He didn't seem to be for a long time. He wasn't down for that shit. However, then, but you see, Evil was also very distant to me and just doing his own thing, and also not able to deal with, you know, all. And it was fine. I accepted it. Do you know what I mean? It was a very difficult post online relationship scenario. You know what I mean? Which we were both dealing with, and we were both dealing with it well. And basically, Evil often had the opportunity to get out of that, but he never took it. But then Don Kingsley showed up, and it made everything like thrown into the air. But instead of dealing with it or talking to me or doing anything, he just started going off and slagging me off to Ricardo. In fact, before Don Kingsley, no, it was before Don Kingsley was slagging me off to Ricardo. So it was when I went on holiday. So I think Ricardo was just pushing and pushing and pushing, and Evil was tired. He was getting attacked. At that time, he was under attack by Dean and Albert and everyone. And this with me wasn't easy. And he wasn't getting any of the benefits from it because he wasn't reaching out for any of the benefits for it. And I wasn't pushing it like as much as he'll make out that I was, because he was desperate to. There was a lot to be gained from that conversation. I hope he hasn't deleted it because I haven't downloaded it. I don't think I did download it. And I want to see. Oh no, because Red Bull sniped it, so it's fine. But I do want to listen back to that. But I imagine it'll be quite a mystery tour of things that they'll be writing about me there, and there won't be much truth in it, I'd imagine.
Quite honestly, I was very surprised by how they went after Big last week. I never felt like Victor Vega, any time I have been to his stream, he has said anything bad about anyone.
No.
So that seemed very out of place to me. And honestly, I don't understand why even attack Victor Vega and where that came from.
Well, I've got a bit of an answer for you there, but it's not a full answer. But there is a bit that I know, which is that it's like I've said before, it's no coincidence, absolutely no coincidence to anybody who's discerning. And the thing is, there's not many discerning people around here, but anyone who is discerning will look at this and be like, okay, so the two people, and there's only two out of the whole Herbies who've even been bothered enough to just say, all we've ever said is, we don't buy into Ricardo's bullshit 100%. Because both, for me, in my case, I've already been there when those guys weren't buying his bullshit, and I did buy his bullshit. So I was like, I went through it all, and I've come out the other side. Vic, for his own reasons, has never bought Ricardo's bullshit. So those two, like me and Vic, these two people, are the two people that apparently, according to them guys, are like absolutely disgusting, worthy of this amount of attack, which when you compare it to even how he was been attacking Dean, he's been like comparing me straight up with Dean, because as soon as I compared those guys' behaviours with Dean's behaviours, which I do believe stands up, because what they're doing is exactly the same shit at some level, and Albert's, and it was shocking to me, the hypocrisy. So I called it out, backing it up with evidence. What they do in response is go, oh, Lady Dean, do you know what I mean? It's just this childish, echolalic response of the non-creative. And they're just trying to get ideas out of me and Vic. That's it. They know we're the creative ones. They're just trying to get us to give them ideas so they can build Ricardo's channel, so Ricardo can bring Darius back into the fold, in my opinion.
Quite honestly, I don't see Darius ever going to Ricardo's channel. We know what Darius thinks about people of color. And according to Darius' image of how the community should be, I don't think Ricardo fits that.
But Darius will change whenever he wants, so won't he?
I'll say that again.
I say Darius will just flip-flop and change whenever, if it suits him. Don't you think?
I don't know. Darius has always been a racist, and that's not going to stop. And that's currently still going. And I do remember on a stream recently, he said something about Ricardo Cody that wasn't too, it was kind of in a derogative manner.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to remember what it was, but Darius doesn't think highly of Ricardo.
But then that might just mean that Ricardo's trying harder with Darius now. You know what I mean? Because he's delusional. But anyway, it doesn't matter, because what he's found as a result is he doesn't need Darius anymore, does he? Because he's got what he wants. He's got that person to feed and to be fed by, which is what he wants.
Basically the way that it looks like is that Ricardo is doing exactly what Darius did years ago. Darius pulled away from Radical Riggs channel and created his own community. And I could see Ricardo doing the same thing.
He is. But let him. That in that sense, that's cool. That's part of nature, and I was all down with that stuff. It's the lying and all this. Like, what need is there? That indicates to me that there's a threat, that they're threatened. And so that for me is a bit of a red rag to a bull. I'm sorry, lads, but if you're going to be that overt and that obvious with your stuff, and you're going to sit there drunk, pointing out with by lying, and the thing is as well, and they know that I don't watch this shit because they know as soon as I watch it, I'm not I'm not going to succumb to their delusions, and they can't lie to me because I lived it and I know the truth. So it's like I'm going to see what your drives are exactly, and I'm going to see exactly where you're threatened just by your drunken ramblings because your guard's down as well. So I just don't get why feel the need to put yourself, out there like that. There's a reason for it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess when it comes to Ricardo, we have to go back and think about the history of his channel. He
Mm,
had a channel and he lost the channel when he
yeah.
started getting into the drama. So in many ways, Ricardo got to this situation due to his own missteps. He got
Oh,
into the drama where he didn't belong and he started losing his channel. So now
mm,
he's trying to use the same force that took him down as a way to build a new community and a new channel for himself.
mhm. Definitely. And he just wants to do this with me for long enough, but not that long. They're not going to do this to me for long, but it'll be long enough so they can get the foothold, and then it's like they can, and they'll mine me for. That's what I'm saying about they're going to mine me and Vic for ideas, and anything that we put out is going to be used for ideas for those guys, so they can just sort of like build that foundation, and then they'll just like terraform the whole thing afterwards. So it's like we didn't exist. Do you know what I mean? And they'll just move forward because it's not just them two. You've got a couple of people behind there. You've got a couple of whales who are backing them, who are helping them as well, because they've got a vested interest in bringing Darius back in as well. Not necessarily bringing him back in, but redressing the balance, quote unquote, because they don't particularly want Slotham in charge. Do you know what I mean? And so you've got people pulling the strings there behind those two idiots, getting that shit done. And that's where the orchestration comes from. And that's where a lot of the good shit comes from behind the scenes with those guys, you see. So they are making a new community and it's needed. But what it is it really is just an extension of in my opinion, what was happening in the Herbies, where there's this massive control over who can create, when they can create, what they can create, who they can create with, how long that goes for, how long those people are allowed to have people in the chat for. Do you know what I mean? It's like that, because then you will get shut down. First, you get the emotional manipulation, then you get shut down, then you get the smears, then you get the lies attacking you and the gaslighting, in the sense that you're not allowed to say anything back because they attempted that by doing the whole, oh, she's going mad, she's having a meltdown, oh, she's just crying. And that was just the most hilarious. Like I said, I didn't get to hear much of it, but when they're like, oh, doing these 10-hour streams all the time, like repeating it, oh, and a 3-hour stream with Vic Vega. And you're like, okay, so what are you guys doing right now? And every day this week, and you're moaning about a 3-hour stream that I did one. So it's just you're overtly saying about like it's good for you but not for me. Like, you're allowed to do as many streams, disparaging as many as we want, but not me, because you've got this backing. You've got a backing helper and a couple of helpers there, and he's accruing more of them.
I mean, when it comes to those streams, like long streams and overnight streams, I ain't losing any sleep over the stream.
No,
If it's
exactly.
11 o'clock, whatever, I'll just go to bed. I don't care enough about the
No,
drama to stay overnight talking about it.
too right. Yeah, for me, the timing of of any sort of stream, it's like it's just the timing for me. If I'm doing something, like for me with the Red Bull ones, they're just the perfect time for me. because it's like the Australian time, it's like the opposite of mine or whatever. So they're just starting their evening when I'm starting my morning. So if they're going after I've done my school run, then I've got a good couple of hours where I'm doing housework and stuff where I can just chat. So it just fits perfectly. So why not? But they're seeing that as some sort of major threat to the point where they have to do these long drama streams whilst crying about other people doing drama. Just like the massive. It's just, you can't write the hypocrisy. You just can't write it. Someone literally crying about someone doing a long stream on a long stream. Like, the meta level of it, and even me doing this now, although this isn't a long stream, I'll do these for like 2.5 hours is the maximum on these. Like, I might not even do that tonight because I started a bit later. That's it.
Yeah.
How can they spin? I'll be interested to see what they spin out of it. What they spin out of something so small. I'm just not doing anything at the moment. It's crazy. Like, trying to be as boring as possible, really. Because then what are you going to do? For now, anyway.
So where do you think this is going?
Oh, good question. I think, like you said, big channel, they make a big channel out of it. Ricardo will make a channel out of it. They're supporting him because they've all got vested interest in doing so. Ricardo's a useful idiot, but he's not an idiot. But that's how they're viewing him. You know what I mean? So, like, for evil, he's useful to, in his weird ass thing with me, that's all complicated. Yeah, that he might not even be able to get his head round. So Ricardo's the little genie that he just rubs every now and again to help him out with that one. At the same time, he gets on with Ricardo, so there's a benefit to that. You've got everyone likes to see them ripping me apart, but nobody likes to be seen to be doing it. So what they're going to do is they're going to do it for a small amount of time to feed people like Nelda. They've got away with, because they've got enough people behind the scenes who are stationed in positions that are influential enough, that they've got away with having like Nelda as their like main person. They've got away with having Blitzkrieg over there and Ricardo kissing up to Rad Rob. Now, if Rad Rob's 8-bit Eric, then what does that mean for him and Darius? I don't understand that. So maybe we're going to find a time where Ricardo is going to have to choose possibly between the two, or not even get to that point. He will be conflicted, but he won't even get to that point because he'll try and make evil then do whatever he's been forced to choose, because he won't choose. He's got no spine. So one of those guys will, put the pressure on, and he'll have to make a decision one way or another eventually, probably. And then he'll put the pressure on evil. He's already putting the pressure on evil. You've seen the difference of how evil is with Slothams and how evil is with Slotham. That's directly due to pressure from Ricardo.
Evil's channel completely changed in the past few days.
In
the past, Evil's channel in the past used to be like the Wild West. Everybody could go in, everybody could comment, but recently just has become a blocking zone in a way.
Oh, has it?
Like only selected people can interact in his channel, which is very similar to what Ricardo has in his channel as well.
And Darius as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The changing tables stink, isn't it? It's just coming through, and you've got conduits, you've got people who've got their vested interest in doing it for their own reasons, but the result will be that this is going to spill out into the whole community now. And this whole place was like the Wild West. It's just going to slowly become homogenized into this very controlled, diluted, just being fed on by set people, until people get bored and move away, because there's just people feeding on you all the time. It's boring because they've got nothing else, and it's just sad to see. But I think I saw on the Evils, like, I took a screenshot of it because I couldn't believe it, and it was just one of those, because like if he's on in the morning and I just wake up, then I'll go on and just look at the chat, you know what I mean, and then that's me done. So I just took a screenshot though, because it's like there was literally nobody on there at all. It was like early in the morning or whatever. I'm sure there was loads of people watching or whatever, but there was no one on that chart. And there was Ricardo in there doing his thing. And for some reason, can't remember the ins and outs of the chart. There will have been a reason with Ricardo, probably feeling threatened, probably feeling the need to assert some level of proprietariness over either the stream or Evil or someone in the chat. So it was that sort of vibe coming off Ricardo, like, this is mine, oh, this is mine, you know what I mean? That sort of vibe. So like he was going on there and he was like, you know what he's like, starts bubbling up with a little bit of discontent about something. And then he's like, after a bit, everyone's ignoring him, whatever. And then he's like going, oh, will you ban my name in the chat, please, in case any... This is like weeks before, like a week or something before they started this bullshit, or a few days before they started this bullshit with the thing they did the other night. And he's like, so these crazed lunatics can't write my name 100 times, and all this stuff, and please take my name off and put me on the banned list and all this evil, please, and like repeatedly doing it. And you're just like, just because no one was paying him any attention. There was nobody in that chat attacking him. There was just like nobody has attacked him in any way up until now. Every single time he tried to purposefully take the wrong end of the stick, I set him straight respectfully, and he's just been sat there waiting for the right way of getting to me because I've always been respectful. And he's fucked because now they've just gone full Minority Report and reacting not just to how as if I've gone off crazy, but as if Vic's gone off crazy as well, and neither of us have. And there's loads of people who've seen that, but unfortunately those same people are the ones that are in Ricardo's camp. So
I mean, when people start creating safe zone in their channels and they start blocking other accounts, it's because they're running away from something. We know what Darius is running away from. There's no secret on that. And we have a good idea what Ricardo is running away from. Is Evil just imitating Ricardo at this point, trying to protect Ricardo? Or is he trying to avoid any conflicts with you?
I think he's trying to avoid conflict with himself, to be honest. And Ricardo's he's like, you know, I'm your genie, I'm your friend, I'm your willing slave. You know, he's just like, he'll be one-stop shop for Oblivion. Evil just wants the Foreign Legion. He just wants to, like, you know, forget everything and just move on. But it's been really difficult. This is just my supposition. I could be completely wrong, but this is the only explanation I can think of for this whole thing, you know, because it's just crazy. The reasons they give me is just like worse than anything D. Reed could ever come up with word salad wise. You're just like, you what? Plus gaslighting, plus lies, you know, plus you've got Ricardo in his ear, just making it that level of fantastical bullshit, which is all well and good and funny for a bit, but it really does wear thin, guys. I'll let you be your own judges, but we'll see how you go on with that. But then, you know, he might move forward because he's got now, you see, he's accruing creative people through eating evil. He's accruing people who will give him ideas. And that, you know, that might not be a bad thing. That might be a good little team. You know, you've got people feeding him ideas. He's the performer. Once they've stepped away from this distasteful side of things, they can move forward and the world's their oyster, really. That's what they're thinking of. So I think maybe Evil's just sort of like, I've upgraded here. If I put it in, like, he knows Ricardo's a bit of a gimp, but he's like, if I put the energy in here, and if my mates put the energy in here, we put all our energy into this, we could get this going. And we've got Ricardo as the performer, and then we give him, you know, give him the shit. At the moment, we'll just use someone else because obviously it makes it so much easier, more titillating, and it just gives you that extra boon and that extra bonus of like consume, like in voodoo, do you know what I mean? Like consuming the power of the person by eating them. Like that's what they're doing. They're trying to do with as many people as they can who remember the past and who are willing to speak up, which is why Vic's got dragged into it. And that's what I would say as someone from outside looking at it, who's got no loyalty to either side. You'd be like, well, Okay, so these are their two mates. Obviously, either these two people have been absolute dickheads for a year and a half or 2 years, and they've only just found out right now that these two people are absolute cunts, or these two people who've been outspokenly said, "Hey, Ricardo, can we discuss this or that? You know, I've got a couple of boundaries that we'd like to discuss." That's all. Respectfully, it was enough to send him crying off into a frenzy. And we know that because he's already cried off into a frenzy regarding me, regarding far less many times up to now. But as he's been refining his routine of how to achieve this, what he's done this time round. Like I say, this time round, it was a perfect storm because we were all in a weird space anyway. We had Dean and Albert attacking, and then Don Kingsley as well. So it all added on.
And I mean, this time around, Ricardo was trying to manipulate the community. If you think about it, at one point, well, at multiple points, Ricardo was saying that he was stopping with the drama. And then he continued bringing the drama. By doing that, he tried to establish himself as somebody who was trying to get away from the trouble, from the from conflict, but at the same time, he wasn't. So whenever he said, "I'm trying to get away from the drama, but these other people don't stop," he makes himself look as the baby face.
He does,
He
but
makes
nobody
himself
cares.
look like the good guy. And
Yeah.
that's how he tried to manipulate people's feeling on him.
Yeah. And they've all fallen for it. That's the thing that's amazing about it. Like Ricardo doing that, honestly, like that in that chat with those guys, the bit that I saw for a second was it was the minute when the penny dropped for Ricardo, when he realized that Evil was either fully bought in to what he was on about, or more likely was on the same page as him and they were vibing, and you could feel it when they just clicked and they just went, ah. And it was like this bit where Ricardo was just like, oh, yeah, yeah, Evil, yeah. Honestly, his voice, I've never heard anything like it. And he was like, oh, I never know. Yeah, Ricardo, what's it? CP, I don't know what I ever did to her. I don't know what I ever did to her. And it was just the honestly the voice and everything. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And it's amazing for what it is. You know, I can appreciate it for what it is, but it is just like Evil knows what's going on there. He's not an idiot. He's feeding it for a reason. Now, Evil's in charge of Ricardo. It might look like it's the other way around, but nah. Evil's in charge of Ricardo. Ricardo's giving Evil a lot what he wants, and so Ricardo's got a lot of power in that dynamic, don't get me wrong. But Evil is in charge of that. But there's someone in charge even of those two. And I would argue there might even be someone in charge of that person. So it just goes on and on.
This is how I see things. I mean, people have to be very careful about what community they pick. Like, for example, if you are in the Darius Truston community, you know the word that is going around regarding Darius Truston and his reputation. So whenever you get into his community, that's what you're associating with. And in this case, even if Evil is controlling Ricardo, whatever reputation Ricardo has is going to slowly stick on Evil as well. So what would he be getting out of that relationship?
Well, I don't know. I would imagine that they're probably trying to change Ricardo's reputation. Do you know what I mean? Because if it doesn't take long, it really doesn't. Like, if you've just got enough people just whitewashing something and there's enough of them at it, and they're all just sat there doing it constantly, the amount of vitriol and the amount of effort they've put onto this campaign against me and Vic and Red Bull, you know, if they put that on to just changing the, you know, rewriting history, little bit of titillation about the past with us, but then moving on, using some of our ideas and things like that. Do you know what I mean? And then, yeah, they'll change the reputation because it'll just move forward. And then anyone new coming in or anything like that, they're just going to be completely unaware of where Ricardo got his, what he cut his teeth on this time round. I think for Evil, he gets more control back. See, for him, I was an unknown quantity, you see, because we'd had our online relationship. We tried to sort it out. We were having our growth period that we were trying to have. And I think it was a struggle for him. And I think for him, it would have been far, and he says it's all different and everything like that, but the actions and the words are very different, you see. He was saying he'd talked to me and he's discussed it till he was blue in the face and all that. Absolutely not. He discussed it with Ricardo till he was blue in the face. He did not discuss it with me till he was blue in the face at all. He was very avoidant, which I understood. But that indicates to me that he, if he was set to default and he wanted to just chill out with his mates in the locker room chat, he would be avoidant of it, which is fair enough. But if he just had to talk about it, he just had to just say that's what it was instead of orchestrating this entire bloody thing. And I don't know if he did know that's what he was doing, but I think it just made it so much more attractive to Evil to do that. And it just made it more so that he could be the better person, because like any normal person would just be like, okay, this is what's happening, it's awkward, let's both call a spade, deal with it, and then we'll, what comes of it comes of it. I even said to Evil, I was like, just let me know if this is too awkward, we'll talk about it and maybe we'll come up with something. And this is right at the beginning, do you know what I mean? And I was like, I'll even fuck off, like, and completely normal, completely sound. And he didn't, and he's the one who kept bringing it back all the time. Very strange. So what reason as well you've got to look at if he's attacking me with Ricardo as well. So we'll take it as a red that he's getting some benefit from attacking me with Ricardo and joining in with Ricardo for this. So there's a reason for it. So then why come to the crunch to justify everything to me, be nice to me, make up with me, and tell me that you loved me, and then go and do that a couple of hours later with Ricardo? I don't understand any of it in that sense.
I mean, everything that Ricardo does is to make himself look like the victim. So
Yeah.
whenever you think about his actions, you have to think and take that into consideration. For example, whenever he made a truce with you that only lasted like 2 days,
Yeah. Oh, many
was
times. Yeah.
that was just an opportunity for himself to make himself the victim once again.
Mhm. There's other things as well. When I look back on it, man, this guy, it's on me, right? I underestimated Ricardo because he's been playing this game for a very long time with me. He saw me coming. So, like, probably right at the beginning, I would imagine he's been playing me from the very, very start. Whether it was to get to Evil or not, I'm not sure, because he probably didn't see Evil or respect him that much at that time. But he has been playing me since the get-go. And even in the most recent time when he's done this on me, and he has done it many times, but the most recent one was the one where we had the panel, and then he went away and decided to make this whole scheme, which is admitted, of a lie, of that I attacked him and so he couldn't come to Red Bulls. And that's what started that's what started Evil, then came over to me, having an innocent Twig stream, and started calling me a cunt and started trying to set me off. And I was like, oh, you're all right, Evil, you can call me a cunt if you want. And fine with him. He couldn't hack that, lost it completely. And this whole thing has just spiraled since then, and it's never stopped. They've never answered to anything. They've never addressed anything. But that's how it started. The reason why, even down to that point, I'd been on a panel with them a couple of hours before. And what they tried to do, you see, and this is Evil and Ricardo, when I was supposedly all right with Evil, when Ricardo was the one who had a problem with me, but not Evil, we had a chat. I made up with Ricardo for the sake of the peace, even though I'd known that Ricardo had acted like a twat. I was like, whatever, made up with him. Then they tried to get me repeatedly, him and Evil both tried to repeatedly get me to talk bad about Lewis. And it was over and over again. You know what he's like, just really focused on it. And I just wasn't having it. And I just kept my boundaries, because I was like, no, I'm building bridges with Lewis. And that just shows and indicates how far back it goes, how much they were threatened, how much they have to control everything, because they were crying, and this is before Ricardo, crying about me being friends with Lewis, right? Or crying about me making bridges with Lewis for a very long time. And you wouldn't believe it, in the Discord as well. The handling, unbelievable. And then the attempted handling. And then when I just wasn't having any of it, because obviously they have a much lower opinion of me than the reality, which means that they always fail on their handling, because I let them think I'm stupid. And so yeah, they're telling me what's what and everything. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm like 4 months down the line from this. I'm not saying that I know everything or anything like that. I'm just saying in this one instance, I knew what I was on about. They often given me plenty of decent advice, don't get me wrong, and I've learned a lot. And I'm very naive
Hey,
in a lot.
Ron.
Hey up, Ron. Oh, hey up, Meow Meow. Hey up, FJ Cruiser. The
I mean,
game.
on what you were saying, I mean, whenever I think about Evil's channel, and like I mentioned earlier, it used to be, it felt like anyone could go in there.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that he had going for his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back then when the deep read clause happened and all of that. And Evil had
Yeah.
his channel, his door opens for anyone, for anyone that wanted to go
It was.
by to his
It was
channel
what it
to
was
do so.
about. Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore. And that's kind of what really bothers me about his decision to join up with Ricardo.
Mm.
It feels like he kind of dropped what his channel was, his structure, his culture, to
Mm.
adjust to what Ricardo wants his channel to be.
I agree. But that's because Evil knows it's temporary, I think. You know what I mean? He knows. He knows that this is all temporary. Remember this. This entire war started because he already did this once on Albert. You know what I mean? Because Albert got jealous of Tommy, so he's already done it on Albert. He's done it on me. He'll do it on Ricardo. He knows he will, so he doesn't care if he fucks his channel up. But I mean, maybe he thinks that something can come of it in the future with Ricardo that might last a bit longer. So maybe that's why he doesn't really care if he fucks his channel up, because this is a new direction for him. He's got Nelda now, which is obviously enough for him. And if he just attracts these low level people, which he will with this sort of content, then he might just have shit forever. And maybe he's just happy with that. I don't know. And he just maybe got sick of being the egalitarian, open, creative channel that he was. He just wanted to be a really disgusting troll channel. Maybe changed his direction a bit. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, quite honestly, I don't get too much enjoyment talking about Ricardo. And it's because, I mean, the guy is old enough to be my father. And in
Mm,
some way, I feel like I'm insulting an old man whenever I say something about him.
yeah, true.
And I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, there's nothing more to do about it. It's just nature. The only reason he even gets brought up again, we'd all moved away from it, hadn't we? We were just chatting away on Red Bulls and whatever, and just getting on with shit. And they have to bring it back to them all the time. And this time they had to make it negative, because even the positive, it's just not going to happen. Now they can probably move forward with a bit of positive. Now they've got a bit of limelight, and they can just drop people's names whenever they want. It's like that. They're just building it like that. It's just business. It's just business to these people. It's boring.
at the end of the day, we have a guy in Ricardo. I mean, like I said, he's old enough to be my dad. He's here spending his time streaming online while he lives in a house with 3 roommates. Instead of thinking about improving his life, thinking about saving his money for retirement, because he's not far from retirement at this point. He's just spending his time trying to manipulate the community. What is he
Yeah,
going to get out of that?
to
His
feel
channel
like
is never going to be monetized. His channel is just his channel. That's
no,
it. The viewers that he gets is the viewers that he will still be getting in the future. So if
Yeah.
he's looking for monetization of his channel, that's not gonna happen.
No, it's not that. It's
So
having that narcissistic supply. It's having someone in his chat sucking his cock when he's playing his games, and that's it. That's all he wants.
so Ricardo, if you're doing this to feel good, I feel very sorry for you.
Mm.
What are you? Are you 50? I think that's what I heard, near 50, somewhere around the 50 age range. I mean, there must be other ways for you to feel good about yourself besides going into a community and trying to destroy the community and what it is, and trying to manipulate the people in the community. But it is,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a better way to spend your time than doing this. Even myself, I don't even watch the videos all the time anymore. I don't stay overnight doing streams or watching streams. I got a life. I got something to do in my life. And I feel
Exactly.
like that's what is going on with a lot of people, including UCP. You got other stuff going on in your life.
Yeah,
But
it just
it doesn't
opens up.
but it doesn't seem to be that's not the case with Ricardo. Ricardo's life it seems to be just YouTube.
Yeah. And then instead of like actually moving on or doing something, he's just ramping it up to sort of hide the fact that he's spending so much time doing it. And sort of like, so like for me, like making all these lies up that I'm crying about it and I'm spending all my time doing it when it could, there's no, the evidence is purely there. Evil crying and making all this like repetitive fucking spiel about me kicking off in the Discord. Yes, I kicked off in the Discord twice in like the whole time this has kicked off and everything. I've done 2 public things in the Discord because he called me out on both counts and I responded to him. So he was trying to draw me into drama in the Discord so he could get me out of the Discord. And it was pretty apparent that that's what he was trying to do because, again, they're making it very obvious. Like what you were just saying, it's like the things that he's doing to make himself feel good, the things he's doing to show it, is showing himself. But then, and that's why I find interested, or I did find interesting up to a point. But then at this point, right, and I'm really not harping on or crying about myself or any of that because I'm really genuinely, I've got it, like you're saying, we've got enough stuff going on. We haven't got the time to sit and make lies up and cry about it forever and ever and ever. So that's why I'm not bothered and I don't take it personally that the community has moved on in this way. It's sad that we've lost a no man's land, but we've gained another one with Red Bull, and I'm going to do stuff on mine as well. So we've gained a lot as well. I'm a groomer. My word. Well, I'll have to, oh my God, I'm a groomer now. There you go. Oh, do you know what as well? And that's just automatic as well. It's like Pavlov's dogs. It's because I brought it up in the Discord in the couple of interactions that I had. And you can honestly, if you know what's going on, and there's only me who does, in this case with Evil, like really, from my perspective anyway, do you know what I mean? And it's like you can hear it and you can just translate what he's saying because it's like, okay, so you're talking about grooming because I mentioned that to Tommy in a conversation that we had that was public in the Discord, and I did say like because he was coming at me with this whole like, oh, you're so upset and you shouldn't have been so attached to Evil and you shouldn't have, you're creeping him out or something along those lines. And I'm like, you must be joking. He came at me. He kept coming at me, and I just said something like, it was almost like he was, if he's going to call that one, I'm going to say he was the groomer, right? So I was just like having a hyperbolic conversation with Tommy. Evil's obviously took offense to that, and you just see all this stuff. It's that, like I've said before in the past, with Dean and Albert, you use the vernacular, and it comes straight back at you the words that you've used, and it's pretty damn obvious that that's what's happening, and you can see which buttons to press in the future. Evil fucking is lucky and he banks on the fact that I am not the sort of person to want to press his buttons to make things painful for him. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make him into a bastard like he wants to draw me into being a bastard to make it justified to himself so that he can resolve this conflict so he can climb in Ricardo's fucking goat say. like without me stopping him from doing so. And it's like, it's a self-destruction thing, in my opinion. Captain Game Master started on it, did he really? Oh, you have to tell me more about that one, Red Bull. Yeah, sorry, alt account.
So who have you been grooming?
Well, I don't know.
Because I mean, who you talk to? I mean, you talk to Red Bull, and I don't see you grooming Red Bull. You talk to
No.
Big Vega. I don't see you grooming Big Vega. You talk to me, and you're not grooming me. So who
No.
exactly are you grooming?
I'm talking about two people who have blatantly, and a guy, Ricardo, who has openly admitted to being a full-blown liar and manipulating me. Um, who am I supposed to be grooming? Yeah, exactly. Because this is the thing. It's like, I would urge people in this situation, because I'm saying, like, you don't really want to talk bad about him, and this is where I'm at with it. I don't want to talk bad about Evil. I've got nothing against Evil. Honestly, he's not shown anything new to me. He's not shown anything about himself that I didn't already know. Like, I don't hold him in low regard. I still think he's a really good person. You can't be so much of a fucking creative, amazing genius as he is and not have the other side of that where you end up being just a complete bell end as well. Like, that's because he has a full technical range of emotions. That's why what not being an NPC is, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I'm there for that shit. And even if he never speaks to me again, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's not a dick measuring contest for me. I don't have to be like more respected than him. It's not like that. But for me, it is a bit like that sort of shit. Like you're saying, like that's what you choose to do. That's how you choose to make your content. And I know we're trolls and everything, but just that choice to sort of feed off your mates, feed off me, and like what they did with Vic, what they said about Vic, I thought was quite under the belt and quite low. And it's just like, is that what you're choosing to spend your time and your energy? And for me with Evil, like I don't think he would choose that intentionally. Although I don't think he'd choose it not to because he's like, whatever. I think that's kind of what's happening there with Evil, really. It's just like, why not? He doesn't see any reason not to. Best call, 10,000 the next day, your words come back. I don't understand what you mean.
Let's talk about reality, about Ricardo. The guy is 46. How many more years of life do you think he has? About 20, 25?
No, I reckon he'll last a long time, Ricardo. I reckon he's got that wiry look about him. He's like he's an old granddad. He'll be like an old granddad, I reckon. Probably. Wiry.
And this is a guy that is basically living in a world where he's doing construction work, living with 3 roommates, and he's get excited about video games. But he doesn't talk or anything about his family, besides the fact that he left them in Brazil. So this is a person that is going to die, and he's going to die alone.
The way he's
the
going.
only thing that is going to be buried with him is his video games.
Yeah, and he's dragging people.
What life does he have? He doesn't have any family. That's why he has to come to YouTube and try to create a family. He has to be a home wrecker and break another family to create his own, because he doesn't have anything else going on in his life.
Right.
That's Ricardo for you.
And
Ricardo
he's
a liar. Yeah. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that Ricardo is an opportunist. He tries to find a little hole somewhere where he can sneak in and take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah. He knows he can do it as well. That's the thing, because he knows, like how Albert knew he could up to a point, he just knows he's got the staying power over everybody else. He's a gamer as well, so he knows that if you stand in the corner and you get your little exploit where the boss can't get to you because they're at work or they've got a family to look after and other shit to do, and they might have other creative projects that don't focus around ripping other people to shit that don't deserve it, in a non-comedic way, that isn't even your own patter that you've stolen off someone else. No one else is maybe that interested in doing that shit. So he's already got that benefit. And he knows that from his games. He knows that if you just stand behind that tree and you just keep firing and firing and firing, and if you've got some other fucking player that's keeping coming and bringing you ammunition every 2 minutes, you're golden. That boss will not stand a chance. And you've seen him do it many, many times. And this is what he's doing. He's just found a fucking little exploit, and Evil's his fucking safe state. Every time he goes back, every time he gets wiped out, every time people get wise to him or bored of him or anything like that, all they have to do is drop my name, Red Bull's name, Vic's name, anybody, but none of those people are anything to do with Ricardo. They're all coming through Evil, and that's why, because it's a conduit, and that's why he'll never stop getting fed, because he's always going to have that connection to someone who actually does have friends and actually does have a life. But Evil's now solidly feeding Ricardo for his own reasons, and we've got now a bit of a hellish situation because you've got someone like Ricardo who's attached to someone who has got breadth and who has got a horizon, who has got depth to them, but has decided to, avoid that at the moment. And you've got Ricardo who has put all his points into that obsessive, like you say, just not talking to his family, sticking his head in the sand, being an absolute expert about fuck all, and then looking down his nose and, shutting down other people, like you were saying to me, like, because I don't play NES games, that like Fiber Twig or whatever didn't count, even though I was taking the piss with Fiber Twig. Do you know what I mean? It's like none of that counts. No one's allowed an opinion because they're not doing it to the same obsessive level that he is, which is like a very teenage boy way of looking at things. Like when I remember, growing up and stuff, and people like being musos or, posturing and showing off about how much they know about a certain subject. Like you soon grow out of that shit. And, but yeah, he's still doing that. And then, but most of the time, no one would give it that time of day. But then as soon as he gets that attachment to someone who does have a food source, well, you've got a real hellish situation, because I think the feedback mechanisms of nature mean that in general, like if you're going to have enough of a varied interest and attraction to other people by having those varied interests, having a breadth of understanding, having a bit of an interest in other people and an interest in a wider thing, and like with Evil, like wanting to set his channel up so that anyone could talk, to be that sort of person, you're not going to be as obsessive as Ricardo. You're not going to spend as many hours solidly online as Ricardo. And you're not going to always want to be in the privet as Ricardo. You're not going to be scared of being on panel with people or discussing things that come up, because Evil was never scared of any of that stuff. He never had to ban people beyond a joke.
Yeah.
And that's all changed,
So was it Ricardo who said that because you play Fiber Twig that you weren't a real gamer?
Oh, he tried small. He started small. Yeah, he started like that. And then I took the piss out of him for that. And then it just started getting more and more ridiculous. Yeah, until it got to unreal stuff. And I mean, like I was saying about Vic the other night, like the reasons not to listen to Vic are completely unreal and ridiculous, when he's talking about really, really nasty stuff.
That is such a... Who the fuck gave Ricardo the power to basically say who is a gamer and who isn't? like who the fuck does Ricardo think he is?
Lots of people are giving him the power. That's it. Everyone's giving it him right now for whatever reason.
And here's who Ricardo is surrounded with. Ricardo is surrounded by a cock called Kuya that is keeping track of who's watching each stream. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat right now, you fucker. You're so cock and so butthurt that Tony TGD got buried 6 feet deep into the ground by Slotan, that you have to back up Ricardo because you feel that somehow is going to get back at Slotan. Nah, that's not gonna work, you cock. Keep cocking to Ricardo and keep keeping track of how many viewers we have?
It's just all what it's like. It reminds me of from a parent's perspective. So you've got like your kid gets to a certain age, right? So it's like with us, it's Duplo bricks, right? So your kid gets to a certain age, they get older, the Duplo bricks aren't going to cut it for them anymore. So in our case, with the community, it was like we outgrew, we didn't outgrow it, or everything changed. So we used to have the Amico, and then we had the Dean and Albert thing, and the Slotham and Darius thing, and then it's like it grew out of that. You know what I mean? It's like it's now moved on into bigger things, and we've still got the energy from the thing, which I'm transposing to be like, you've got the bucket of Duplo bricks left over after your kids finish playing with them. What do you do with that? Well, what you do is you give them to the younger kids in the family, and then what happens is you end up with, if you've got less kids in the family as you go on, which is what's happening here, you're getting less opportunities, less breadth in the community, less just less scope for people, and less accessibility. Not that this place was massively accessible or broad or anything to start with, but even within our thing, there was a bit more of that. But it's being shut down and fed upon and restricted in such a way. It started by Dean and carried on by Ricardo, because he never starts anything himself. He always follows other people's shit. And he's been following the Dean model as well with this one. But what you end up with then, I hope people can follow my analogy on this one, but you end up with this, like, say you ended up with like 4 kids originally who all had Duplo, and then it's all left over. It goes to this kid. You've only got 2 kids in the next generation or the next one up, and they've got this massive fucking killer supply of Duplo because they've got all the Duplo from the other families. And then the next set of people only have the 1 kid, and they get a load of Duplo bought by their family. And then they also get the whole family fucking supply of Duplo that's been built up over 3 generations, and they get the lot. And that's what's happening here, in my opinion. It's just getting narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, and all that energy is just getting piled into fucking Ricardo's begging pot. And this is it. He is a fucking beggar. He's an e-beggar, a massive e-beggar. He just begs for fucking narcissistic supply. He begs for he begs. He sits there begging with tears. I've seen him. He's got no shame, but he manages to get himself in a position where he's just untouchable. Like you're saying, like, who does that shit? Who gives him the pass to go and do that shit? The stuff that he just completely shameless shit that people just let him get away with. They let him get away with it. So he's going to do it.
Let's talk about hypotheticals. Let's say that we don't talk about Ricardo anymore. Let's say that this is the last day that we talk about him. What is he going to use as fuel? He doesn't have anything. He's using us as a way to feed and grow his community. Once we stop talking about him, what's going to happen is that he's going to start turning against people in his own community.
Yeah, I agree with that. But go on.
So whoever decides to join Ricardo, keep that in mind. Once Ricardo doesn't have anything to gain from this drama, he's going to start turning on you guys to create some new drama and keep his channel growing.
The thing is, though, is that we maybe you might be right, because if we actually purposefully avoided talking about him completely, that might be different. But like this week, when we were doing stuff like talking to Red Bull and everything like that this week, it was just a passing comment on Ricardo, you know, because he'd mentioned us, or it happened to be part of the thing. It wasn't like a focus thing. Like we were talking to Rabbit Dude and people like that. I was talking to Dean, you know, like we were just talking about the news of the week. You know, these guys had turned on me, and I was just commenting on that a little bit. When it came to Evil, I'd already left it on terms at that time that I was aware of, that Evil was all right with me talking about Ricardo even, but he wasn't going to talk about me anymore, and neither was Ron. And obviously that changed over the course of the week, so that needed discussing as well. But it was all within sort of decent parameters, I thought. You know, it was like you talked about me, we had a little small discussion. But and then most of the time it was talking about other things and talking about the future with Vic and all sorts of stuff. And then you get them then making shit up, didn't they? They just made shit up for however many hours that stream was. That was just. I mean, I didn't see all of it at all by a long shot, and I'm sure there might have been some truth in some of it, but like that, what I saw of it was just pure propaganda. It showed me what they needed to do, what they felt they needed to do. You know, the stuff they needed to cover their backs with. It showed it. They weren't very subtle about it. So, like, I don't know. I'd like to give it a shot. Actually, I would. I'll account. I would like to give it a shot. I felt like that's what we were doing. I felt like I'd done that a bit already. You see. So what happened last time is I did do that and I ignored Ricardo. After I, tried to make it up with him, I ignored him. Then, if you remember, he went on a panel and he tried to make up with me again. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I did manipulate you, I did lie." But that was like the umpteenth time he tried to do it. Prior to that was a time he tried to engineer it so I slagged Lewis off to ruin any sort of bridge I was making with Lewis. That shows their level of jealousy, and the level of manipulation, and also what he's thinking about, like 3 or 4 steps ahead, if not for more. So I would never accept an apology from him, being that I already have many times, and it's always done me wrong. But he will make, he tries. He'll just keep trying, all account. I think if we stop talking about him, it'd be interesting to see what he tried to do, because he would try something. He'd be poking Evil, maybe. He'd be poking other people to try and get a reaction. Maybe he's got that alignment with Rad Rob now, hasn't he? He's got his alignment with him. So maybe he would be trying to poke Rad Rob to cause trouble in other places, potentially. But there'll be a lot of distraction.
No, I don't think he has an alignment with Rob. I
Don't you
think
think so?
I think Rob is a slot and navy guy, and he's just testing the waters. He's just going around and see what's going on in the community.
Yeah.
I don't think Ricardo has any alignment with him.
Fair enough. But yeah, I just think he'll just keep poking. But I think I do like your idea of having a very strategic, not mentioning him. I think he'll push it. I think that's what he'll do. Is he'll push it. He'll start with the lies, and he'll start pushing it, because this is what Evil did. Because remember, I've been doing this for a very long time with Evil. This exact thing of not talking about him, not mentioning his name. I never wanted to bring Evil into it because I knew that Evil was getting dragged into this by Ricardo for his own reasons, as well as knowing that now it's happening. Like, Evil's in charge. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of Ricardo's not in charge of Evil. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that Evil's masterminding this whole scheme or any of this shit. I'm saying that, like, regarding Evil's involvement in it, he is his own master in this. He's got his own reasons. You know what I mean? He's in charge of that. It fits both of them. It's a symbiosis that works for both of them. So that's what I mean by that. But, like, Ricardo, emotionally, because he knows Evil wants to enable him. He knows that Evil wants to do that. So he's then in charge in that sense. Does that make sense? So he'll just tell him what's what. Oh, like, today we're doing this, tomorrow we're doing that. Like, today we're going to go after this person. And he will just go along with it. Because why not? Once you're in it, you may as well.
Yeah.
So I can understand that part of it. It's just one of those things. Oh, Doshin. I think it's just a case of, for me, just watching the psychology of it. I just find it interesting, that just watching the reasons behind it. I think Ricardo will ramp it up. I'm willing to go along with your suggestion if you're up for doing that, and just not doing it at all, just not talking about him ever again, just not mentioning him.
I mean, to me, this whole thing it's just for fun. I mean, it's whatever. I'm not losing any sleep. Like I told you, I'm a little bit bothered by how Evil changed his community to fit Ricardo. That did bother me. But I'm
Yeah.
not losing any sleep due
Yeah, it
to
doesn't matter
Ricardo.
though, does it? Yeah. At the end of the day, things change and then nothing lasts forever. And even with the Evil's channel, and he did change it. He did change it. I'm glad people noticed because it was just bizarre that everyone's just like going along with it. It's like, all right, he didn't respect what he was doing before then, did you? Do you know what I mean? Like, because obviously people didn't care, because the people who did care actually did notice when his channel changed, but whatever. But whatever, it's like this shit has to change and has to move, and it's like bushfires and things growing in the thing, and you've got the spoiled ground, and that's the only place where a poppy will grow. So I get it. It's just this particular person's a bit of a dick. You could at least admit that this guy's a bit of a dick, and he's still acting like a dick, and he's bringing the worst out in everybody else. And I remember a thing that Tommy made once about Dean, and it was about bringing the worst out in his online friends and making his online friends worse people than they need to be. And I just think those words are very, very true. We can all choose not to let a knob
Mhm.
turn us into a bigger knob. You know,
Yeah.
if you're gonna let someone turn you into a knobhead, make sure they're of good quality. Make sure they're like gonna give you something in response. Evil turned me into a knob, and he's well worth it. Ricardo's not worth it, in my opinion.
I mean, now that Dachin is here, I'm gonna ask him directly. What are you getting? What are you getting from a relationship with Ricardo? Like, what is your benefit from it? Because quite honestly, you do seem obsessed over Ricardo.
Hmm. I think he's just attached to him, hasn't he? A bit like a
I don't
duck.
know, but I saw his clips, his shorts,
Mm.
and they were very concerning.
Oh,
If
were they?
I'll be honest,
I haven't seen him. He used to be
yeah.
like that with Evil. I don't know if he's still doing it, the Evil level, but I think Ricardo let him do the stuff that Evil wouldn't let him do. That's how it started.
And honestly, I don't see how Ricardo can add any value into the Dachin brand or persona or whatever.
It gives him access to drama, access to the limelight. It gives him access to Evil and access to loads of people. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't have to. If Dorsey was to do his own chart, people would turn up eventually. It'd take him a few weeks to do it, but I don't think he believes in himself enough to do it. I think he's just like, oh, I need to go over there because then I've got all these people to talk to. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, yeah, I think that's kind of what happens there. That's my
I
take.
think, in my opinion, if Dachin did his own show, I think that eventually he can get more people than Ricardo can.
I'd agree. I'd agree with that because Ricardo just eats other people. It's like he's like I've said to many people, Doshin, before. What we see here and what we've seen in the past, and we've seen them do it. They just pull it all apart. They just pull it all apart, so it doesn't work anymore. It's like I think it was the South African team on 1996 Mount Everest disaster, I believe it was. I could be wrong, but they went down early and they moved down the set of tents, and it was like from Camp 2 or something like that, which is much higher up. And what they did on their way down is they just took all the shit out of all the tents, all the food, all the bedding and everything, and just ransacked and emptied all the fucking tents. So when the people finally managed to drag their asses off the mountain, the ones that survived, they got to the fucking tents. None of their shit was in the tents. Nothing was there. And they all were like fucked and they had to keep going. But that's kind of like what Ricardo's doing, in my opinion. Just
I don't
ripping it
know.
all.
I'm kind of tired of talking about Ricardo.
Yeah, man.
It's kind of like beating a dead horse in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's I'm happy to not talk about him anymore. The only reason that I even brought him up this time around was because they'd made that many fucking lies up, and I wanted to see how long they would milk this for as well.
And I'm sure they're gonna use this stream to make more lies.
Oh yeah, yeah. But this is the control, you know what I mean? So we've now got something to base it on, and we can be like, okay, so do you know what I mean? It's like testing them out with different stimulus and to see what, and different resources, and to see what flavors they get out of each one, how long each one will sustain them for, how that changes over time as well. It's all interesting to me. But that, what you're saying is right regarding the actual talking about them, knocking him and all that stuff. I can't be arsed with that shit. Like, I'm not. For me, it's like battling this whole like story. Like, look at this. I understand your concern. Like, what concern? This is them. This is them completely. Mm-hmm. You know, there is no concern here. I'm not shown any concern ever for a very long time. I was concerned when I, was very close to evil. Now I'm not, and they're trying to spin this yarn that I'm upset. I've just commented on it because it's here right in front of my face. That's it. Simple as that. I've got my shit that I'm doing for fun, and it really is fun. It's much more fun than this.
Let me ask you this, CP. Do you think that evil really understands why you're upset with him?
I'm not actually upset with him. No, I think with evil, he doesn't care if I'm upset with him or not, because all he cares about is making everyone think that I'm upset with him, making everyone think that I started on him. Because if he does that, then the reality fits around him, and his new reality will then be that I was a dickhead, I was a creep, I was just a random person who came and just is deserving of all this. And he is still perfect, because if he wasn't perfect, it would hit into a reserve of very negative feelings, which all hark back to very primal stuff from being a kid when you're not perfect. So he's got his reasons, and I accept them and I appreciate them and I love him for who he is. So I'm not upset with evil. All I am just very intrigued and very interested. I mean, if I was ever going to be upset with him, it would have been, I suppose, like in recent times, it would have been when we were listening to that, when I listened to little bits of that interview the other day, or the chat that they had with Ricardo. And even then I was just laughing at him. At this point, it's just like watching the Muppets. It really is. Like, I'm not upset with evil. He will not have it. He will not have it. I was in that Discord, and all I said to him was, all you need to do is not be a dick. I said loads of other stuff as well, but towards the end, I was just like, evil, all you have to do is not be a dick. And he just could not handle that. He was going off into apoplexy. He was coming up with really like trying to push the buttons of things that were going to upset me, really going for it. So he's got a vested interest in, now he's started this, he wants to finish me off, I think. He's not interested in talking about it. He's not interested in sorting it out. He was never interested in talking about it or sorting it out, even before he fell out with me. And that wasn't in a sort of like, he would still talk to me and stuff like that. It was just very much transactional. So if he thought that I was doing something that he wasn't part of, then all of a sudden I'd get messages from him. If I was trying to move on, he would reach out. It was like that. It wasn't me grooming anybody. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'll say, to put it nicely. There. If I like drama, I'd be stream switching with a cheeseburger atop my boner. Yeah, I mean, people. I'm sure people are stream switching. That's kind of fun, because as it is, the way he'd have it, do you know what I mean? There'd be no one streaming at the same time, and there'd be no one doing anything. You know what I mean? Because, well, up until a point, he wants to feed off it, but at the end of the day, it's just, they just want it all for themselves. He just wants it all for him, and I know that because he's like getting evil to feed everything to him. I can't. Just can't do it on his own. So yeah.
All right. I think I'm out. It's 12:30.
Yeah, man. I'm just thinking it's like getting on for the quarter 2 mark. But I would definitely, I make a vow from now on. I'm more than happy to not mention Ricardo's name ever again. That's the last time I'm going to mention it. He's boring as fuck. He's going to try and milk us for as much as he can. I'm going to enjoy that. If he does shit, I suppose I can refer to what he's done without really referring to him. So that's the plan. Thank you very much for coming and talking to me, Oscar. Appreciate
It
it.
was it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll just move on and do other things. It's fine. See what
Yeah.
Ricardo's got to offer. All right, good. Cheers.
All right. See ya.
See you later, everybody. Right, I'm going to say bye to everybody else. Bye, Haunted Wisp. Bye, Doshin. Bye, Red Bull. Bye, FJ Cruiser. Bye, Meow Meow. Oh, bye, Ron. I'm sure you're over there now. In the privet. But yeah, this is what you choose to do at the end of the day. I'm sure there's lots of fun things to be had with it, but remember that a huge portion of that is a choice that's been made there to just eat some really sour shit, in my opinion. That's just how it is. See you later, Vic. See you later, Lewis. And that's us, I think. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Yeah, it's just keeping it downplayed, really. It's like a correlation, isn't it? That's how they throw the the bucket of water on things, on proceedings too. This is how they pull the strings. You can put a bit of bucket of water on that, fan the flames of that. It's pretty easy to do. And when people haven't got a vested interest like we haven't, and not really online that much, it's very easy to do. But what I would say is the only thing to be had that's of benefit from it is really to watch what they're doing, what their drives are, and give you a bit of an idea about the human condition and about human nature. All right then, see you later.